In this video, we're going to be solving linear inequalities. In this case, we have a quadratic equation. The first step is you have to make sure that the equation is equals to 0. And you're going to solve this like if it was a equality, and then you find what is positive and what is negative. It's a very straightforward process. So first, make sure that this is equals to 0. So your job is to check when this is negative. Okay, so first factor. So this is x plus 4, x minus 3. And first you solve this when this is equals to 0. So this will be 0 when x is equals to negative 4 and when x is equals to 3. Okay, so then make a line. Use always 0 for reference. The values where this is equals to 0 is negative 4 and also 3. You had 3 places where you had to check. You had to check a number here, number there, and number there. You can pick anything there really. So we could pick 0 here. We could pick 4. We could pick negative 6. Then, whenever you pick the numbers, let's start with this one. You literally plug it into this equation and you check for the sign. So negative 6 plus 4, it will give you a negative value. This will also give you a negative value. So the first one, you plug in negative 6, the first one will give you negative. The second one, which is this one, it will also be negative. Negative times negative is positive. So that means anything less than negative 4 is positive. Next, check 0. If you plug in 0 in this one, you will get 0 plus 4, which is 4, that's positive. 0 minus 3 will be negative, and positive times negative is negative. So anything between here and here will be negative. Finally, plug in 4. We plug in 4 in here. This will be positive, and this will also be positive. So you will have positive times positive, which gives you positive. The question is just asking you, when is this negative? So the only part where this is negative is between here and here. So the solution, if you write it in integral notation, is from negative 4 to 3. Or you can say negative 4 less than equals to x less than equals to 3. This is the solution. Let's try another example. This one is very similar, except that now you are dividing by a monomial, and you have to watch out for that, because when x equals to 4, 4 is not part of the domain, so it cannot be part of the solution. So you need to keep that in mind. On the top, if you factor the top, this will be x plus 3 times x minus 2. We do another line like we did in the previous example. Remember, always use 0 for reference. Now you have 2 points where this is 0, which is at the value 2, and also at the value negative 3 for the second one. And then the answer doesn't exist when x equals to 4. So that one you have to leave it open because that cannot be part of the solution. Now you have 4 places where you have to check. Here, 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 here. Like you could pick negative 4 for this one, 0 for that one, 3 for this one, and 5 for that one. We're going to do the exact same thing we did in the last example, except that this time you had 3 signs to check instead of 2. So we pick -4, the first one on the top, and I'm talking about this. You have 1, 2, 3. If you put -4 in here, this will give you a negative value, so that will be negative. The other one will be negative, and on the bottom you have a negative value. So negative times negative is positive, but over negative is negative, so the final answer is negative. Then let's pick 0, the first one, and again, this for the first one is positive, the second one is negative, so this is positive, negative, and the one on the bottom is negative. So negative times positive is negative, over negative is positive. So anything between here and here is positive. This is negative. Let's check 4. Same trick. It will be positive. This is positive. This will also be positive, but this will be negative. So we have positive times positive. Okay, so the first one is positive. The second one is also positive. And the last one is negative, which will give you a negative sign. So between 3 and 4, this is going under, which means it's negative. After that, we pick 5. This will be positive, positive, positive. So everything is positive. So the answer is positive, which means going up. The question is asking you, when is the solution positive? And from the graph, it's pretty easy to see what's the answer. Okay, so what is this positive? This is positive from here to here, and also here. So the answer in interval notation is from -infinity to -3, or 4 to infinity, and this is actually a bracket because this is also part of the solution. And that's it for that one. Let's do one more problem. Here you have 2 rational expressions, and remember that you want to make sure that you have an inequality greater or less than 0. So that's the first thing we should do. So if you subtract the second rational equation, you end up with something like this, and now this is positive. So technically you're looking for when is the solution positive. That's your goal. This question looks slightly different than the previous one, and it is, but it's very, very similar. So the first thing we're going to do is add the fractions. For that, you need to find the LCD. So this is something that is not new, so you add the 2. This is what you end up with. And remember, this has to be positive. The LCD here is x minus 1 times x minus 4. We simplify the top, you get 5x minus 20 minus 3x minus 3. And on the bottom you have x plus 1 times x minus 4 greater than 0, which implies you have 2x. You combine this times that, it's 2x minus 23 greater than 0, Okay, if we do the same line from before, you have 0. Here, -1 and 4 are vertical asymptotes, or they are not part of the domain. So -1 cannot be part of the solution, so you put a hole in there, and you do the same thing with 4. Now from the bottom, from this one, we have 2x minus 23 is greater than 0, or 2x, I mean you should solve this equals to 0, 2x equals to 23, or x equals to 23 over 2, which is 11.5. So you need to add that one to the list. So let's say you have 11.5. At this point, this is equals to 0. So we have to do the same trick. You check something here, and something there. So if we start with 0, this one will be negative, and on the bottom you have 2. This will be positive, this will be negative, so the whole thing will be positive. Between these two, you could pick, let's say, 6. The top will be negative, this will be positive, and the whole thing will be negative. And finally, you can pick like 13. This will be positive, everything is positive, so the answer will be positive. So here it will go up, here it goes down, up, and most likely this will go down too, but let's check. Let's say you pick -2. Pick -2, the first one is negative, so the whole thing will be negative. Remember that you're trying to find where is the solution positive, so the solution is positive in here and in here. So in interval notation, this is from -1 to 4, or 11.5. Remember, this is 23 over 2 to infinity. That's it.